The Colorado Buffaloes badly need a statement win against the Colorado State Rams this weekend. I'm going to tell you why.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. We are also brought to you by Ultimate GM. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is a brand new mobile game that is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. So begin your coaching legacy today. Let's dive right into it. The Colorado Buffaloes are currently sitting at 1-1 on the year, which for any other normal program, right, it'd be like, not bad, not great. Could have been better. Colorado got blown out against Nebraska and is like, don't want that, right? But Colorado is also not other programs. And I need to preface that before we dive into anything that we dive into. Colorado is not like any other program in the country. So because Deion Sanders is at the helm, because he has made such boisterous claims, regardless of whether or not they were reasonable, people are still going to hold them to what he said because that's what he said. People want him to fall on his face. So when he says, yeah, we can make the playoff, everyone's like, Deion Sanders said Colorado's making the playoff. Now they're 1-2, or now they're 1-1. Like, what's going to happen? Like, he's a fraud. Like that. That's how people attack the Deion Sanders, I guess, or that's how people attack Colorado because of Deion Sanders, right? So let's just get this out of the way. It's not fair. I get it, but this is how it's going to go down. If the Colorado Buffaloes don't win against Colorado State, or they have an ugly win, the noise is going to get insurmountably louder. And let me tell you what noise I'm talking about. So there's really 4 ways this can go. You lose, it's terrible. You're 1-2. Everyone's already talking about Deion Sanders looking away or looking to leave Boulder, right? Paul Feinbaum said he's looking for a way out. Stephen A. Smith is saying that he wants him to get an SEC job. The guys at On3, I think it was Andy Staples and someone else, they said that he's currently showing no interest in being at Colorado for the long run. And so a loss here against probably the most winnable game or most winnable team on your remaining schedule, that's not going to help with any of those rumors, right? Because people are going to be like, well, now he's for sure going to leave. Like, this team has 2 top 10 draft picks and they're losing to a middle of the pack group of 5 team, a middle of the pack Mountain West team. So you not only get that narrative, you also get the sense of, oh, this Colorado team is just bad, right? All of their offseason chatter of, we fixed the offense line, we fixed the defensive line, we have better linebackers, we have better coaches who have NFL experience. If you lose to this Colorado State team, regardless of what the score is, all of that goes by the wayside. It's all of a sudden, it's like, okay, your upgrades are bad. Your head coach doesn't know what he's doing. His staff doesn't know what they're doing. And that's exactly what's going to happen if they lose. If they win, everything changes for a little bit, right? It's like a timeout on life, a timeout on all the criticism. So you win, first of all, the pressure stops for a moment. I'm not going to say the pressure is going to fully go away because it's not the truth, right? Colorado, the pressure will never, ever go away when Deion Sanders is at the helm, or if he leaves Colorado, wherever he's coaching, right? The pressure never goes away because it's Deion Sanders. He's one of the most notable sports figures in history. So he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt of being like, okay, we won a game. Now let's just everyone relax. No, it's going to be like, okay, it's going to be the same way after they beat North Dakota State, right? Where it was like, ugly win. Did they start 1-0? Yes. But did it look ugly? Yes. So why was it an ugly win? That's exactly what would happen if they win closely. But if they win big, like say they win by 2 scores or 3 scores, right? Which honestly, I think is in the cards. I think that's a possibility. From what I've seen from this Colorado State team, they're not that good. But again, this Colorado team also hasn't looked very good in their first 2 games either. So it's really hard to tell. I really think that Colorado should win by a couple scores at least. But if you win, you get momentum. And whether people want to admit it or not, the Colorado players and the coaches and everyone could say that they don't care about the outside noise, but we know that's not true, right? If any program in college football cares about the outside noise, it's Colorado. Their whole thing was, we keep receipts. Every press conference they have, people, if they don't bring it up, people will ask them about, hey, like for instance, the ban report. Coach Prime brought that up. He sees what's out there. Like they care a lot about what the media says, what the fans say, whether they want to admit it or not. No program in college football is going to be like, yeah, we get our feelings hurt when our fans or the media talks about us like this. Like every program is paying attention in some capacity, right? It's the same way or the same reason that they banned the reporter from talking to Coach Prime for the stuff he said. So if they win, there's not going to be really, if they win convincingly, excuse me, there's not going to be a lot to say about them negatively. And so it's like, okay, we could finally get our backs off the wall. Like we could finally just focus on the task at hand. And I think a win here moves mountains for them. And I don't think I've ever really seen a college football team that I personally think is so, I want to say boomer bust. I don't know if that's the right phrase, but that's what I'm gonna go with. Boomer bust week by week, right? Like if they lose a game, it's catastrophic. If they win a game, it's like, okay, we're back on top of the world. Like Colorado, they beat North Dakota State, and it's like everyone was saying, oh, North Dakota State was gonna beat them. And then they're like, see, we proved you wrong. And then they lose to Nebraska, and it's like, oh my gosh, Colorado's the worst team ever, right? So I don't really know if I've ever experienced a team as like every result is on the opposite end of the spectrum. Like every win is like we're going to the title, and every loss is like this is the worst team ever. And I feel like that's where this Colorado team is at. So I think they need to win big here because if they lose, then you go into a stretch against a Baylor team that's kind of tough. UCF's going to be solid. Kansas State top 15 team, they're going to be really tough to beat. Arizona top 25 team, tough to beat. Cincinnati's going to be bad. But at that point, say Colorado loses another game or two, and you're just sitting at 2-4, 2-5 at that point, doesn't really matter, right? Like that puts a lot of pressure on this team. So you need to win the winnable games. You need to make statements when you can. And I'm looking at Pat Shurmur. I think he's kind of the offense under him has looked less than stellar. I don't know what it is. We've seen Shador, granted, one of them was a fluke. We've seen him turn the ball over twice already, and he only had 3 interceptions last year. The offense is very one-dimensional. They were the worst rushing team in the country last year, and I think they averaged, I think it was like 69 yards per carry, or per carry. That'd be great. 69 yards per game. They're at half of that. They're in the 30s right now. So they are literally the worst rushing team in college football by a wide margin. Dallin Hayden's out, so that doesn't help. And I just don't know if Pat Shurmur's doing enough to find solutions. So this would be a game to find solutions for, right? You're going to have a lot of people watching. Almost 9 million people tuned into this game last year. It's on CBS. You get a primetime slot again. Colorado's played all 3 other games in primetime slots, and the Baylor one is at 5 p.m. Pacific, so 8 p.m. Eastern, another primetime slot. So your first 4 games are going to be in primetime, right? Make a statement, win big on the national stage, and sort of get this pressure off you. Otherwise, all of the noise from the outside is only going to get louder. The feeling of like the walls closing in, it's only going to get stronger. Those walls are only going to keep closing in if Colorado continues to struggle. So obviously it's only week 3, but we all know that Deion Sanders and Colorado are dealing with somewhat of a different standard than most programs. Not because of the success they had, because of what they said in the past few months. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by Ultimate Football Head Coach. Hey, Locked On Buffs fans, I want to take a moment to give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you're going to love as much as I do. It's called Ultimate College Football Head Coach. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to step into the shoes of a head coach and lead your college football program to glory. Can you imagine actually being the head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes? In this amazing simulation, you get to control everything from recruiting players to hiring coaching staff to overseeing training camps and handling school scholarships. You control every crucial detail of your program. It's all in your hands. Will you be able to handle the pressure? And here's what I really love about the game. You are responsible for calling offensive plays during the game. So your strategy not only determines the success of your football season, but will also shape the future and legacy of your program. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. You can play on the go as you want and when you want to. And of course, we have a special offer from Locked On Buffs fans. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure to take advantage of this perk as it will get your team off to a strong start. To download the game, just visit ultimate-cfb.com or look it up on the app stores. Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Begin your coaching legacy today. This episode of Locked On Buffs is also brought to you by our sponsors over at Gametime. And let me tell you about Gametime because they have the best deals for everything. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live event even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. They have curated deals that make it easier to find the best prices on great seats. They have the ability to look at your seat before you buy it, which is my favorite aspect because you never want to buy a ticket and then be surprised that you're like in a weird curve of the stadium, or some stadiums have like this weird architectural flaw where it's like, oh yeah, there's a random pole in front of this whole section. Game Time allows you to see everything. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, talking about Colorado Buffaloes as we do every day. Making me your first listen of the day. I appreciate you guys for that because we're talking about the Colorado Buffaloes every day is what I meant to say. And right now we're talking about Jay Norvell and the Norvell family because, wow. I mean, I think unlike last year, which I mean, it's Wednesday, so there's still 2 more days for someone to slip up, right? Let's just talk about what happened last year. Jay Norvell said something about Coach Prime wearing sunglasses, talking to the media, said he was raised to take his sunglasses off when he spoke to adults, and it was like this whole thing. And then Coach Prime and Colorado, their whole mentality last year was you made it personal, right? So Nebraska, they made it personal by going on the Buffalo. They made it personal by Matt Rule sort of talking about the transfer portal methods. And then Jay Norvell made it personal by talking about that. And it was like, okay, everyone's making it personal. Now, I think teams have realized across college football specifically that, hey, do not give them ammo, them being Colorado, because their fan base will run rampant with it, and because they will use it as fuel. Now, obviously, no program. This isn't new in sports, right? No sports program or team, excuse me, wants their players going out and being like, yeah, say that team sucks. Give them some extra motivation. No team wants that. But I would say that's especially true for Colorado. So we've seen this year, it's been a little different. Matt Rule is very complimentary of Colorado. Jay Norvell, I think he's been passive aggressive. I don't think he's been like he hasn't taken shots like he did last year, but it's pretty obvious in what he's saying. So let's talk about a little bit of what he said. So talking about the rivalry in general, and this could be me reading into it, or this could just be how things play out, because I do think that he says things with intention, regardless of what he wants to publicly say or not. So this was him talking about the rivalry. It's always a special thing to play in a rivalry game, and this is certainly one of those. Our kids know how important it is to play in a game like this. Or he could have said, our kids know how important. Either way, I think that's a little like, hey, we respect our opponents. We respect the rivalry, because I think there's been a lot of questions about Colorado respecting tradition under Coach Prime and respecting rivalry games. And yeah, I think that's pretty straightforward. He was nice about the offense. He says, as far as CU is concerned, but this is the part where it's like, oh, that's interesting. As far as CU is concerned, very similar to last year in the personality of their team and the strengths of their team. Everything starts with their offense and their quarterback. They're very, very capable of being explosive. They have a lot of speed at receiver. Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn, and LeJonte Wester. They attack through the air, and everything goes to the quarterback, Shador Sanders. So the part that stood out to me here was very similar to last year in the personality of their team. Because I think he's clearly pointing out their flaw without pointing out their flaw. He's saying they don't run the ball. He's saying they're one-dimensional. And he's not wrong. But again, when it's a coach like him who has sort of, I would say, made a living off of this because it's only been one game, right? But he's sort of not shied away from poking a little fun here and there. I think that was definitely like a, hey, we know if we could stop the pass, we can win this game. He complimented Pat Shermer, knew him personally, and then he was also complimentary of the defense and Travis Hunter and Levante Bentley. In terms of respect, he says we have a lot of respect for Colorado. We have a lot of respect for what they're capable of doing as a team. They have a lot of talented players and experienced coaches. See, that right there, to me, says, and this could be me reading too much into it, what they're capable of means they haven't shown anything yet. Like that's just let's call a spade a spade. They have a lot of good players on paper, like you said, but they haven't shown anything. And so I think that tells us everything we need to know about how people around college football. Sorry, my nose got really itchy for a quick second there. Allergy season. It tells us that people around college football are well aware that on paper this team looks good, but they haven't shown it on the field. And so I think that's kind of going to be the narrative until they do show it. And then he talked about last year's game. He said, we learned a lot from last year's game. We have a bigger sample size on them too. We know what they are. We know who they are and what they're trying to do. That's better understanding for us. So obviously, he is not shying away from being like, yeah, we know exactly who they are. They know who they are. We know what to expect from them. Because last year, Colorado was kind of working with this advantage of mystery. And I thought it would be more of a factor this year. Doesn't look like it is, or they're just so predictable that teams are picking up on that quote unquote mystery right away. But I do think that Jay Norvell, his family, which his wife called Shador Sanders the B word, his son had some choice comments about Shador as well. I think he's making it so it's like you have to like dig for these comments to be like, yeah, he's throwing shade, but he's not going to do what he did last year. At least I don't think he will. Obviously, there's still time, like I said, but I think there's a lot of pageantry here. I think there's a lot of gamesmanship between him, Coach Prime. Coach Prime talked about was asked about his wife calling Shador the B word, and he was like, met the lady at the Big 12 media or Big 12 meetings, I think is what he said, and she's a delightful lady. Like no one wants to say anything because they don't want this to turn into a media battle like last year. And for Colorado, I don't think they really need any more extra distractions. So I get the methods here. It's really interesting, and I think that everyone's doing what they should do, which is just focus on football, I guess. But it is interesting to see some of the comments he made. When we come back, we are going to talk about the depth chart. There were changes made. Whether they're going to be the difference or not, I don't know. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. And if that's not enough, be sure to check out FanDuel's Profit Boost in the app and use it for FanDuel's double your winnings for all of Sunday, September 15th, pregame moneyline bets. Profit Boost will be starting Thursday, September 12th. View your account page now to learn more about your boost. Just visit fanduel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. Visit fanduel.com to look at odds and get all the best bets because FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow. I appreciate all the support that you guys give me. Let's talk about it. They released a depth chart, and it's one of those things where I don't know if they're trying to hide stuff or if they're going to really run back some of these same looks. So let's just go with how they have it listed. So it starts with the receiver, no changes. Will Shepard, Jimmy Horn, that is, Travis Hunter, LeJohntay Wester. Left tackle, we're going to the offense line now. They have Jordan Seaton, Justin Mayers. I didn't expect a change there. Tyler Johnson, they said he's coming. He's listed as a third string left guard, so I'm assuming he's banged up or something's wrong with him to where he's not playing. They said he's coming though. Hank Zelinkus is getting the start at center again. Khalil Benson at right guard, and then Tyler Brown at right tackle. Again, don't know why they have those guys switched. Khalil Benson plays right tackle, and Tyler Brown is clearly not a tackle. So we'll see if that's really what happens there. Tight end, Savell Smalls, really doesn't matter. They don't use the tight ends at all, which really hurts them in pass protection in their run game because they have no running game. Quarterback, they went with Shador Sanders. No shock there. Ryan Staub's still the backup. Running back, Charlie Offerdahl is listed as a starter. Dallin Hayden's out, so that means Isaiah Augustov, who's listed behind Hayden on the depth chart, is probably the second string back, and then Michael Welch is behind him. Defensive end, Samuel Kunalola, BJ Green behind him. I think you got to go with BJ Green. We'll see how that works out. I don't know. I mean, they haven't pressured anyone, so until someone gets a sack, it doesn't really matter who's back there. Shane Cokes and Amari McNeil are getting Shane Cokes, at one defense tackle spot. The other is Chidozie Nwankwo. Coach Prime said they were hopeful he'd play. He's listed as a starter, so we'll see if he's actually able to play. Deion Hayes is the other pass rusher. They're going with Nakai Hill-Green at linebacker, inside linebacker, Trevor Woods behind him. The other inside linebacker is Levante Bentley with Jeremiah Brown behind him. Corner, Travis Hunter. Safety, Carter Startmeyer, starting in place of Shiloh Sanders, who's out for 2 to 3 weeks, which I talked about yesterday with Scott Proctor. We talked about how to replace him. Savion Riley's behind Carter. And then Cameron Summer Craig is the other safety. DJ McKinney is the other corner. And then Preston Hodge is the nickel, which is spelled incorrectly on the depth chart. Punter, Mark Vassett. Place kicker, they went with Alejandro Mata despite his 2 misses. So we'll see how he does there. And then returners are Jimmy Horn and LeJontay Wester. So, yeah, what does this tell me? One, I'm going to be paying attention to the offense line because I think there's a possibility that they may be messing with people. They said they were going to make some changes and they didn't. So, realistically, the change that I'd like to see, one, if Tyler Johnson could play, I'd like to see him play. Tyler Brown should not be on the outside by himself. I just don't think that's just not his spot, right? He's an interior guy. That's where he should be. Don't make him be uncomfortable for no reason. Running back, Charlie Offerdahl getting the start. I don't care which running back it is. It could be a walk-on. It could be Travis Hunter if he could play running back. Don't care. Jalen Miller, Cameron McKell. Get someone back there who can make plays. The run game has been useless during the Deion Sanders era, and I think it's the play call. I think it's more so the play call than the running backs. So put them in a position to succeed. And then the tight end spot, it's pretty much just a void. It doesn't really matter. They don't use them. I think last week they blocked on 7 pass plays total, I believe it was, or 7. There was 7 pass plays or run plays, but they don't use the tight ends. They don't value them. Neither of their tight ends are really good enough to get on the field and because you have to take a receiver off when you bring a tight end on. So if you're going to take a receiver off, are you going to take Will Shepherd off for Savell Smalls? No. So they don't have a good tight end, which is unfortunate, but we'll just have to wait and see if these are the actual starters or if this is just what they're running out. I do want to see guys like Anquin Barnes and Quincy Wiggins get involved on the defensive front. I just think the defense front needs to be more disruptive. They weren't disruptive at all against Nebraska, and it hurt them. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in to Locked On Buffs, making me your first listen of the day. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, give me 5 stars, and I will see you guys tomorrow.